And welcome to the Central Florida Computer Society Windows Special Interest Group, or WinSIG. This is June 14th, 2015, and today we're going to talk about, or I'm going to be talking about, Windows 10. It's an introduction. I have enough material that this probably will be part 1, and then the July meeting will be part 2. And as we get closer to the release of Windows 10 on July 29th, and so after that we'll see what problems people are having and so on, and we'll do more in showing things that you can use with Windows 10. But right now what we're going to do is just do an introduction of Windows 10, and I'm going to do it by sharing my desktop. So if you'll give me a chance to set that up. You should now see my desktop, and you saw a black box in the corner, and just where my mouse is, and then down here, that's my Adobe Connect link, and so it doesn't show on your screen, so that box will be there. Don't worry about it. If it covers up something, I'll try to move it around a little bit. Anyway, this is Windows 10. I have a gray background. I did not put a picture there to make it so it would look a little bit better. And so it would not be distracting. And you'll notice that there's not much on here because this is a fresh install of Windows 10. Down on the bottom right, you'll see the build number, and the build number is 10130. That's the latest release that most people have. I know Stan couldn't get that release. It didn't update on his test machine. There is a 10134 that has not been released, but I've seen some articles about it. So, what is Windows 10, and why are you going to want to maybe upgrade to it when it is released or shortly thereafter? Well, let's kind of spend some time and see what it can do and what it does. I think one of the biggest changes and additions to it is the fact that you can have multiple desktops. Prior to me having moved where I am now, which I'm limited in space, but before I had 3 monitors. Now I only have 1 monitor. But with Windows 10, I can have multiple desktops. And that is from this task view down on the bottom. When I click it, you will see down here along here in the bottom, I have 4 desktops set up. The one we're in right now is desktop 1. Desktop 3 is my website. Let me refresh that just so you can see it. So this is the Windows SIG's website. Again, to go back to the desktops, I've got a blank one here, and then I also have one of the documents that we're going to look at in just a moment. So I can switch between desktops just as easy as if I had 4 monitors and I could look at them. And just instead of moving my head, I'm changing it within the screen. I think this is a big change in the way Windows works. So not only can you have multiple windows, but you can have multiple desktops. It doesn't work quite the same as the Macintoshes, and I'm not quite sure how they work. But I do know it is a little bit different. One of the things is you can't have multiple instances of the same program. So what I've got going right now is, let's see, is this clicking here? Yeah, there's a chat here. Let's see. Roger's asking, isn't this different desktops just like having different pages open at the same time? It's even more than that. Stan's typing now. And see what he's got to say from the library. Stan is the CFCS meeting. You have to type faster, Stan. How is that different from Windows from 3 on? I'm not sure what your question is, Stan. I'm going to go back to the desktops here. You did not have multiple desktops in any previous version of Windows.
Well, in previous versions, you could open a different window and have different programs running, and I think it's a rather moot difference. But Bob Dolph has asked whether you can save the configurations of these desktops. Is it almost like a separate machine?
You know, I don't know the answer to that. I'll have to check on that. That I don't know. I've not played with it enough to be able to tell you that. What it is different, Stan, is I could have multiple windows open on each of these desktops. And that's what the difference is.
But if you had 4 desktops and 2 windows open in each one, how is that different from having 8 windows open in one desktop? I'm sorry, Hewie, I didn't make an issue out of it. It just seems like a relatively moot point.
Yeah, and go ahead and mute the microphone and let me kind of explain what the advantage is, because it is an important distinction, is the fact that I can switch quickly between desktops without having to move windows around. If I had several windows open here, and then I wanted something in the background, instead of having to bring it forward and so on, all I have to do is switch desktops. It's quick, it's easy, and it keeps the other things out of the way. In other words, let's say I had 8 windows open in an earlier version of Windows. I had 8 different windows open. Your screen is very cluttered. They're all over the place. Trying to get to the one you want is very difficult. Where if you had 4 desktops, each one with 2 windows, you can switch back and forth and the information is going to be right there for you. Now, going back to let's see, these are the items that I'm going to cover today. I am not going to do it like I usually do and just go through the articles. I just posted them. They were some of the ones that that I used to learn how to use Windows 10. The first one, though, I do want to talk about, and that is the specifications. What's needed for your system to use Windows 10? Number one, you have to have the latest operating system that you're using. If you're using 7, you need to have SP1 and have all the updates. If you're using Windows 8.1, it needs to be updated when you go to do the update. If you're using Windows 8, I think you have to go through all of the updates to make it Windows 8.1 before you can do the update. Now, what do you need for hardware? 1 gigahertz processor or faster. And I'm not sure what the SoC is. RAM, you need 1 gigabyte for 32-bit or 2 gigabytes for 64-bit. I recommend 4 gigabytes of RAM. Hard disk space, if you're using the 32-bit operating system, you'll need for the operating system around 16 gigabytes, and for the 64-bit about 20 gigabytes of space. Graphics card, DirectX 9 or later, and you need to have the WDDM 1.0 driver needs to be, and it has to have a minimum of 800 by 600 screen size. Important notes, the upgradability of a device has factors beyond the system specification. This includes the driver and firmware support, application compatibility, and so on. So if your PC or your tablet is currently running Windows 7 SP1 or Windows 8.1 update, you can check to see if it meets the requirements by using Check My PC in the Get Windows 10 application. Applications, most of the programs are that I'm seeing articles about run on Windows 10. I had a problem using a program that I use all the time called Okay. Evernote. One of the problems I had with Evernote was it wasn't syncing. Everything about it worked, but it wouldn't sync. And I used the Windows Evernote Touch from the application and installed it, and it seems to be working fine. And then I'll have to see if the full version works. But it seems to be working fine. Now, some things that are going to go away. The depreciation from if you have Windows 7 Home Premium, Windows 7 Professional, Windows 7 Ultimate, Windows 8 Pro with Media Center, or Windows 8 Pro 8.1 Pro with Media Center. Media Center is going away. It's going to be removed. So if you have it on your computer and you do the upgrade, it is going to remove the Media Center. So watching DVDs is going to require a separate playback software as opposed to using Media Center. Windows 7 desktop gadgets will be removed if you have any. They're a security risk anyway, and you shouldn't be using them. Windows 10 home users will have updates from Windows Update automatically available. There will not be the ability to say, no, I don't want it to be automatic. A lot of the games that were pre-installed on Windows 7 will be removed. Yes, Stan. Question? I'm not hearing you. I hear the mic on, but I don't hear what. All right. All right, I'm going to continue.
It is unmuted, and I did not think I did that. I don't know what happened, but I'm muting it now. Okay?
Okay, I'm hearing you. Okay. All right, you're muted. The games will all be uninstalled from Windows 7. If you're on Windows 8, they weren't part of the operating system anyway, but Windows 10 will install a Windows Solitaire collection, and I'll show you that in just a moment, and Microsoft Minesweeper. And if you have a USB floppy drive, you may need to get a new driver. It may not work right out of the box. And if you have Windows Live Essentials installed in your system, the OneDrive application is removed and replaced with the inbox version of OneDrive. Additional requirements: Cortana is only currently available on Windows 10 for the United States, so most of the people in the United Kingdom, China, France. So I don't think anybody here watching this particular recording is going to be affected by it. Speech recognition will vary by device microphone. Windows Hello requires special illuminated infrared camera, and I'm not going to be talking about Windows Hello because I don't have anything about it. The continuum, I'm not going to go into it in this session. And the two-factor, some of these things will be on the Windows 10 on your phone or tablet if you have a Windows 10 phone or tablet. BitLocker to Go requires a USB flash drive, and that's only on the Pro version. And there's some other things there, but the upgrade editions, which will be free from 7 and 8.1, if you have the starter, Home Basic, Home Premium of Windows 7, you will get Windows 10 Home. If you have the 7 Professional or Ultimate, you'll get the Windows 10 Pro. With Windows 8, if you have Windows 8.1 phone, you're going to get the Windows 10 Mobile, and that's not going to be available on July 29th. It will come later. Windows 8.1 will be Windows 10 Home, and if you have Windows 8.1 Pro or Pro for students, you will get the Windows 10 Pro. So there'll be the different versions, and they are all as upgrades free. If you buy, if you put a computer together, you're going to have to buy a copy of Windows. And if you do not have 7 or 8.1, you will not have an update. And if you buy it, you'll have to get a new version. And I believe the new version is going to be 119 for Windows 10 Home, and Windows Pro will be 199. If you buy a new computer with Windows Pro on it, of course it'll be included, and if it comes with either 7 or 8.1, you'll be able to get the free upgrade. So that's pretty much the basics of what you need. And what is Windows 10? Well, we're going to discover that. You might want to read that article. It'll give you some background to it. And the next article is here are the features Microsoft is cutting from Windows 10. So I thought I'd include this. This came from Gizmodo. Yes. Okay. Oh, there's a movie here. I don't want that. And skip the ad. There we go. Okay, here are the things you're going to lose, and I think we've already talked about that from that other article, so we're covered, so we don't need that.
Huey?
Yeah, question?
Huey, we have a question. Arvin,
Okay.
will Windows 10 run Office 2010, 2012, 2013?
Earlier versions of Office 97, Office 2000, 2003, 2010.
Any idea what versions of Office Windows 10?
I did see an article from Terry Holtzman on Facebook where there was an older version of Office that was running on Windows 10. I don't recall which one it was. It was either 2003 or I'm not sure what came after 2003. I don't think it was 2010. I think there was something in between 2007. So it was either 2003 or 2007 did run on the test of Windows 10. And whether you're going to have multiple ones, I would imagine you can, because I think you can now.
How about 32-bit software?
Other 32-bit software? Any issues with that?
Most of them should run. Okay, and let's see. There's some questions here. Let's see. Free John said you don't have to minimize and maximize Windows so much. Was one of the things about having the different desktops. And then Roger said, I can see having different desktops would allow you to have the same program open and possibly doing separate activities going on at the same time. Right, and I think that is correct. Free John said, if Windows would have a keyboard shortcut to switch like Linux does, it would be very easy and fast, and I believe Alt-Tab does that. There is a way of doing it. Okay. Let me switch back. And we're back here. Let's see. I'm trying to remember where I was now. Okay, we did cover the features that are being cut. Excuse me. And some of these other articles have some of the things we're going to be talking about, so I'm not going to really go to the articles unless there's a question. And so let's kind of examine and see what Windows 10 is all about. So let's go ahead and go back to the plain desktop. The biggest thing that people wanted and didn't like in Windows 8 was the Start menu. And now this is what the Start menu looks like in Windows 10. And you're going to say, well, gee, I still see the boxes, and I still see some things over on the right, but what you can do is you can size this and make this anything you want. So if I want, I can go like this, and I can even take each of these, and it's not easy at this point. What you can do is take each of the squares, what I call them, or from the Start menu, and pin them to your Start menu. And right now it's showing the most used, so I don't have them. But if I took, let's say, let me just take the news. what I have noticed that there's a problem. If you'll notice as I'm moving my mouse around, there should be a highlight around the different boxes, and sometimes it doesn't do that. It loses it when I do some changes. And that's a bug that's still not worked out yet. There we go. So let's take like the snipping tool or sticky notes and see they're not showing up. I don't even know what I just clicked on sports. So when you click on something, you can then close it. Go back to the menu. It's still not showing me what I want to do, but there are, as I say, there are still some issues. Notice I clicked on all apps, and now I can see all of the apps in the start menu. Windows accessories. I click on Windows accessories. They're all here now. So there's Notepad, WordPad is there. So if I wanted to start WordPad, there it is. And now if I wanted to come back over here to show you on the desktop, I can go back to here and then come back to, let's see, let's just, I'm going to do a Control C, or I can just do a copy. And now I am going to go back to the desktop, the first desktop, and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to tell it to paste, and it pasted those items in there. So between desktops you can copy and paste. Notice the WordPad has the ribbon at the top, and I'll go ahead and close that, and I'm not going to save the item. But what I wanted, again, we can go back to all apps. We can see all of the apps that are here. And I'm not going to go through each app yet, but I will go through some. But one of the things that I did want to show you is settings. And this is what I'll probably spend the most time on today. This has replaced pretty much the control panel. And this is where everything is. You got your system, your devices, and so on. And I'll go through each of those in just a moment. I just was looking at my notes, and one of the things I wanted to talk about first was down here in the bottom right, which is your where the things show. Things are much simpler. I'm going to click on the calendar. Let's see, let me get the Adobe Connect information out of the way here. Bring the calendar up again. The calendar is very easy to use. It's handy. And you can change the date and the time settings right from the calendar. This is a new notification. This is something new, and this is how likely are you to recommend. These are notifications from Microsoft or from your system. But you can also, if you have a touch screen, you can go to tablet mode. There's a VPN. There's a Connect, and then there's the all settings right here in the notifications area. Then, of course, the speakers. And if I click on that, you get just a way to adjust it. This is, of course, for your Wi-Fi. And you can see what I have available here. And then these are your other icons that are available for you. So I did want to show you that. And then I also want to show you the taskbar itself down here. Like other versions, you can unlock the taskbar and move it to the side. You can move it to the top. You can move it to the other side. You can move it to the bottom. And then you can lock it so you don't do that by mistake. And then I'm going to right mouse click on it again. You can see, you can show which toolbars you want to have, and what you want to have on your toolbar, whether you want addresses, links, desktop, or create a new toolbar, which I don't have. So this is very similar, and then you got the task manager. I'm going to show that in just a bit. Let me move the Adobe Connect information over here. Then, of course, you can have The icons down here at the bottom in the taskbar are those that are either open and running or what you want to have. So if you have here, let's say paint, if I right mouse click that, I can pin it to the start menu, which are the blocks. I can pin it to the taskbar. So if I pin it to the taskbar, you'll notice it's now down here. And so and then I can also unpin it, so I can have it down there for a while and then take it off very easily. And I can also tell it not to show in the list. The list right now is most used, and that's a setting that you can have. So that's the taskbar. And so you can have many items there. And again, the one item is the task view. I think somebody was asking, is there a keyboard? Oh, John, I think it was. If you do an Alt-Tab, no, the Alt-Tab only does it from, well, I don't want that up there right now. The Alt-Tab only changes the tabs or what's open within a particular window. It does not change your desktop, but I believe there is a keystroke in which you should be able to do that. So you can go back and forth. Okay. Now the search box down here at the bottom is now called Cortana. It's not called search. This can be reduced and just be a button. Or you can clip it here, and when you do, it then comes up and it says ask me anything, and it does give you a couple of things. So if I say, what time is it? It brings up and shows me, well, it's not 7 o'clock, obviously, because I don't have that on. Okay, we'll turn it on. Oh, this is for an alarm. Okay. So let's close that. Now, what I can do, though, is I should be able to just say, hey, Cortana, what time is it? But it doesn't work. That's supposed to work because I have it turned on. But I can do it manually from here. You will not hear her answer, but you'll see what she says. What time is it? Okay, she said right now it's 1:44 p.m. in Bradenton, but you still see it as well. You can't, because of the Adobe Connect, it's not filtering, it's not giving you, it's not feeding her audio. But there's some other things that I can do, which I think are neat. Tell me a joke. What do you call a boomerang that won't come back? A stick. Now I can also say, where is the Maitland Public Library? Yeah, they don't like that. So I will say, where is the Maitland, Florida Public Library? Oh, it's here. And there we go. Oh, because I had the Project Spartan, which is going to be called Edge, open in a different desktop. It blinked and told me that's where I could find it. So if I go here, it's over here in desktop 3. So let's come back to desktop 1 again. So I can ask her anything, I can type in anything, and it will take care of it. There's a comment. Let's see what that is. Roger V says, hey, Cortana, strangely seems like hey, Siri. It is. And there's one for Amazon's program, and also there's one for Android. So they all are having some type of a voice with a name, and you ask questions and they will come up with the answers. So they're all going to have it. So let's take a look at settings first. The big thing, of course, is security and updates. And let's click that. You can see now, I last checked for updates at 10:38 this morning. I'm up to date. I can
Huey,
double
we have
check it now. Okay.
question or comment? Go ahead.
I just want to say that, both my wife and son have Windows phones. Win10 is far better than Siri is on iPhones or any of the Google apps or Android.
Well,
Really understand. Really better.
Huey, Arvin is commenting that on his and his wife's and his son's Windows phones, the Cortana he thinks is superior to Siri or any of the Google apps.
Yeah, of course that's a personal thing, and that will change for different people. So I can understand that.
Okay, well, just out of interest, I also have a Windows phone, and I say it's good, but I don't think it's that much better than. Well, you insisted it is. I'm telling you, I don't think it is.
Okay. Go ahead, guys. Mute the mic, and we all have it. That's an opinion, and we will all find different degrees of like or dislike for a lot of these things. So you're not going to. It's not a convincing or. It's just. It will affect you the way it affects you. Okay, under activation. It just tells me right now that this is the Windows 10 Pro Insider Preview, and I can change the product key. There is a backup. I've not played with it. You have to back up to an external drive. I don't have one hooked up to this computer, but there is a built-in backup. I don't believe it is an image backup, but I know they're still working on the backup system, so there may be one. Same thing with recovery. You've got buttons here to tell you to how to change it to get if your system isn't running well. You can click on that, and I really don't want to go into these at this point, but you can go back to an earlier build. You can advance with your startup and so on. The Windows Defender is real-time protection. You can turn it on, turn it off, and then also add some inclusions if you want. And then this gives you some of the version numbers of what's running in here right now. And then there's some things for developers which I don't need to go into. So that's it for the settings. Now let's start with System, Display, Notifications, Apps. Okay, and let's go with Display first. Stan, I think if you come here, you should, if you've got a, I know you're having trouble with a projector with your own personal laptop, you should be able to see the projector as a second item. If not, then somehow the projector is not connecting properly with Windows 10. And you can change the orientation and so on. Now, notifications and actions. These are some things you can turn on. I really haven't gone into these, exactly what they do, and so on. And I see there's a comment or question here over on the chat box. Roger says, I take it that Windows Defender is the same as Microsoft Security Essentials, correct? I'm not sure if it's the same, but it's replaced it. It is their antivirus. And Stan says, does not show my projector on his laptop. So there's an issue with that particular projector and your laptop. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. What'd I just do? I think I stopped sharing. No, I changed here. Let's come back here. I lost my sharing. Sorry, guys. Let me share my screen again. Okay, we're back. I clicked on the wrong thing. Okay, so these are some things that you can change. Under apps and features, you'll notice a line is going across here, and then you'll see a list So just like it was in your control panel, and then you go to applications or programs, you can see each program, and then you also see how much RAM it's memory it's taking or storage. I'm not sure what that is. Search by filter drive. If you'd like to uninstall, you can do it. I'm not sure what these numbers are on the side, whether it's the amount of memory that it's using or amount of storage that it's using. I'm guessing it's RAM because it's KB in megabytes. So I'm guessing it's the amount of RAM that you're using. So OpenOffice is using 338 megabytes if I start using it. And I did install it just so I have some type of program installed on there, and I'll talk about that in just a bit. So these are the program. This is everything that's installed on this computer, and those are apps and features. And down towards the bottom are some of the features. If there aren't boxes here, I guess there's no icon for it. Under multitasking, there's a snap which allows the system to automatically arrange windows when they're moved to the corner or edge of the screen. That's turned on. You can turn it off. You allow the system to dynamically adjust the size of the windows when using it. You can turn that on or off. And you can allow the system to suggest companion windows when using Snap. And then under the virtual desktops, you can have, on the taskbar, you can show windows that are open on only the desktop I'm using, or you can have it so it's all of the desktops. So that makes a difference in how it's going to show down on your taskbar. If you're in tablet mode, it's turned off because I don't have any touch. But if you turn it on when you sign in, and then switch modes, and then on the power, this is typical. I turned off the sleep. The default was 30 minutes, and then the screen will go blank after 45. And then you can have different settings. And so if you have different power settings, just like in earlier versions of Windows under Control Panel, you've got your power options. Under Storage, it shows you how much space I have. I've used 52 gigabytes of 930 gigabyte. This is a 1 terabyte hard drive. And then there's some system reserved when it installed. It reserved some things for the system, and it reserved 100 megabytes, and it's only using 32 of it. Now you can save locations. New apps will be saved to, and I can actually decide which drive it wants to go to. It doesn't change location, only which drive. Offline maps are some things, and I'll talk about maps. I may not get to it today, maybe next month, but the mapping program is very nice. The default apps, I do want to say I have set the Windows 10 mail program as my default, yet when I click on something, and when I click on something within a program and say I want to send an email, it does not know that I have a default email program. It says I don't have one, so that's still a bug that they've got to work out. And then under the About, it gives me some information. But at the bottom of the About are additional administrative tools. Here are all the tools that you may be used to in Windows that you can use. And I could go through each one of those, but I'm not going to. And what happened to my, let's see here. Question?
Yes, from Ted Goodwin. If Windows 10 is downloaded and installed, do you know if there is a guide or a manual available for download or printing? I would
of course.
maybe F1, but your thought?
Well, yes and number one, you got to look on online, but if you look here, there's a Get Started. And that's not what I wanted, okay? I thought that was a help. Oh, I see what's happening. That's not showing up. And that started money is what it did. Let me see if I can get it from here. All apps. As I say, there's still some problems with these. If you'll notice, I move my mouse around, the Get Started doesn't highlight. But if I click it here, you'll see there is your manual. There's the Start, Search, Cortana. And so if we look under the Start, what's on the Start menu, love it, pin it. And so if I click this, it gives you all kinds of information. So there's a manual built in. Now whether this will be in the released version, I don't know. And you can see what's on the menu. You've got all of these things here. And under Apps, explore the Windows Store, move apps around, group apps by desktop, choose app options, and so on. So I think that answers his question. Let's go back to settings. Okay, this is the Get Started, and we're going to close this. And we'll go back to settings. And we were at About. So we have the additional administrative tools. There's a BitLocker, and under the Device Manager, you've got all of this. And under System Info, you've got the information that you got Device Manager, Remote Settings, System Protection. You can go to here. So this is very similar to the control panel that you may be used to if you've used those things. Okay. And to go back to the menu, you just click that arrow. And under Devices, these are the printers and scanners that I have set up. And they'll prevent extra changes. The new devices won't download while you're metering. You can turn that on, turn it off. And then you got Devices and Printers down here in Device Manager again. So you can get the same things in different places. Connected devices. I've got a Dell keyboard, which that's what it is. I'm using a Microsoft USB wireless mouse, and I believe that's for. I'm not sure what that's for. And this is the TV that I'm using as a monitor. And let's go to the mouse and touchpad. You can roll the mouse to multiple lines at a time and so on. You can do some settings built in. Typing, autocorrect, you can shut off autocorrect. And you can shut off highlight misspelled words if you want. And then under autoplay, you can have that turned on or turn it off. That's under devices. How are we doing on time? 2 o'clock, okay. Network and internet. This shows what I've got available. We've got some advanced options. This gives me some information that I know. I can allow it to be discoverable by other PCs and a metered connection. We can turn that on or off. Not sure what the metered means. And I can manage the Wi-Fi settings from here. And there's some things that you can do. Turn on, turn off. Related settings, you can show available connections, change the adapter settings, change advanced sharing settings, network and sharing center, home group, internet options, and the firewall. Under data usage, this is data usage in the last 30 days. The Wi-Fi has used 1.83 gigabytes. And usage details, that tells me how big the files were that I downloaded or what I used. I'm not exactly sure which. Probably the biggest thing that I downloaded was the Windows itself. And I think that might have been before because it's greater than 1.83 gigabytes. Storage settings, again, this is a screen that we've already seen. So let's go back here again. Data usage, VPN. You can add a VPN connection. You can even add you set up dial-up, and if you want, you can have proxy set up, and none of that is just, it's set on defaults. I have not changed anything. Personalization. You can change the background. You can put a picture back there if you wanted to. You can tell it to fill it. You can browse and put whatever picture you want back there, or you can use some of the ones that they include. You can change it to be a color or a slideshow. So if you change it to be color, you can pick which color. If you want it to be red, it's going to look like that, and immediately you can see it in the background. So if I minimize this, you can see I could have it a nice bright red color. And to maximize what we just had, okay, how do I get it back up? Right here. There we go. I'm going to go back to picture and it's blank. And I guess I have to stay on color, and we'll make it, I think that's about what we had it. So you can change your colors. You can change the lock screen. That's the screen before you sign in. And I've been doing that on 8 and 8.1 on my 8.1 computers. However, sometimes it doesn't show. It goes back to defaults, and I'm not sure why. On 8.1, I've not played with it on here. Themes. You can right now it's just a classic theme. You can get some. You can change the themes and get different pictures and the way it's set up and so on. You can change it to some of the other themes, and there's probably going to be themes that you can download. So if you want to have it flowers or windows, you can have it on any of these. And then the start, customize list, occasionally show app suggestions, store and display recently opened programs. That's turned on. So notice here you got most used and recently added and so on. If I didn't want those to show, I could turn that off by clicking here and here. Start behaviors. Now, right now, I have the use full screen start when in desktop. There are some people, believe it or not, who really like the Windows 8.1 start. And so if they want that, they can force it to open up with the large screens. And then you can store and display recently opened items in start, and you can turn that on or off. I see there's a comment or question. Roger asked, am I using a desktop or a laptop? I'm using a desktop, and it's connected to a TV for the monitor because I don't have a monitor for it. So that's the personalization. Now under the accounts, I could put a picture of me or whatever picture I wanted for this account. I'm an administrator. I'm using an email address to sign in. You can create a picture, and then you can add other accounts that you use. You can have sign-in options because I only have, when you've been away, Windows will require to sign in again. And you can have never or when PC wakes up from sleep. Password, you can change the password. You can create a PIN instead of a password. So you can have it, so it's easier to sign in to multiple items. You could change it to a PIN, so it's just a number. Windows Hello, you must set up a PIN before you can enroll in Windows Hello. Picture password you can have, and then some related settings. This is the lock screen. Work access, I'm not sure what that is. Gain access to shared things like apps and so on by connecting below. You'd have to connect to another computer. Family and other users, you can add family members and other users. so you can have other users, and you can sync your settings to other devices. So as you have more and more settings using the same login, you can sync stuff back and forth. Time and language, not much here. That's different. You can set the time automatically, or you can do it manually, and so on. Region and language, English, US, and speech. You can change your microphone and set your speech up. And if I clicked here, I could get started and set up the microphone for speech recognition. Ease of access. You can hear text and controls on the screen. You can turn the narrator on or off. A voice, you can choose which voice you want. I'm not sure if I played it whether you would hear it, so I'm not going to try that now. And you can do some items with the narrator. The magnifier, you can turn the magnifier on, and you can invert colors to make it easier for you to see. Or if you're presenting, you might want to use the magnifier. High contrast, you can have, right now, I've got it set for none, but you can set it for different levels of contrast. Closed captions, these are my closed captions, so you can change your, right now they're all set for default. I'm not sure where the closed captions come in, but you can change the background and so on. And so you can have closed captions somewhere for some reason. Keyboard, on-screen keyboard is off. If I want to turn it on, it would look like this, and then I could use it and say, where's it writing it? I don't know. Anyway, you could do some things with it. I'm going to close it, and it's turned off. Sticky keys, press one key at a time for keyboard shortcuts. Toggle keys, filter keys, these are all turned off right now, but these are things that you can turn on. Enable shortcut underlines, display a warning message when turning a setting on with a shortcut, and then make a sound when turning on or off a shortcut. So these are things that you can set. For your mouse, you can change your pointer size. This is the size that it is, so I wanted to make it bigger. You'll notice that it changed. I want to invert it. Okay. Oh, I have to come back here. There we go. Use numeric keypad to move the mouse around the screen. You can turn that on. And then you can, if you turn that on, then there's some settings for it. And then some other options. Play animations in Windows I've got turned on. By default, these are defaults. I've not changed this. You can actually change the cursor thickness. So if you have trouble seeing the cursor, you can change it. So if you open up something, notice the cursor is much thicker there than it would normally be. So if you have a hard time finding the cursor, sometimes you might want to do that. And then you can flash the active title bar, flash the active window, or flash the entire display. Okay, that's your setting. Privacy. Let apps use my advertising ID for experiences is turned off. Smart screen filter to check web URLs that Windows Store apps use is turned on. These are defaults. I haven't changed any of these. Send Microsoft info on how I write to help to improve typing and writing in the future. You might want to turn that off just for privacy. Let websites provide local relevant content by accessing my language list. And then show me tips about Windows is turned on. Manage my Windows advertising is something down here, and a privacy statement. Under location, I've got it turned on. Camera I don't have. but if I had one, it's ready to use it. The microphone is on, and that's obviously because you can hear me. It is an external headset microphone that I'm using. Speech, getting to know me, this is Cortana and so on, and stop getting to know me, so turns off the dictation, but it's not working very well unless I click on the button. Account info, let apps access my name, picture, and other information. You're going to turn that off. Under contacts, here's what can use my contact list, mail, and calendar, and it's turned on. The calendar is on, and I'll show you that here in a bit. Messaging is on. Radios, like Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. I don't have Bluetooth on this computer, I don't think. Other devices, and then the feedback. And then, of course, the updates and security, and I think I showed you that. And right now it has, I checked for updates earlier today. So that's the settings. A lot of settings makes it very easy to make changes. I think a lot easier than what it is for earlier versions of Windows. Let's go ahead and close this too. Now, if you go to the Start menu and you right mouse click, they say this is a menu for advanced or more experienced users. If I right mouse click, now I get programs and features, power options, event viewer. So without having to open up the settings menu, I can get to a lot of those things just by right mouse clicking the Start button. So if I want to look at disk management.
We have a question or comment, Arvin?
Yeah, question.
Sure.
Is Windows 10 a destructive install? In other words, does it wipe everything on the computer?
Is Windows 10 a destructive install? Does it wipe everything on the computer, or is it a way to reinstall it on top of it?
I have not tested that. I do know that you have the option of updating or doing a clean install. I tried to do an update on this computer, but this computer, one of the reasons why it wasn't in use, why I wasn't using it, was the fact that I was having a lot of Windows issues, and it did not want to install, and so I did a clean install. It still kept a Windows.old
I've got
folder, so all my data is there.
3 more questions. Arvin, continue.
To know if there's a God mode for this yet.
Is there a God mode for it yet?
I have no idea.
Dick?
I haven't talked to him lately.
No? Okay. Bob?
On that virtual keyboard that you showed on the screen, does that work on a touch screen? You can actually touch it and play.
Okay. Bob Black was asking if that virtual keyboard would work on a touch screen, and we have an answer from Arvin is the yes.
Yeah, that's what it's designed for.
Ancillary.
And because I'm not using a touch screen, I don't turn it on because I don't need it. But you could use it either way, as a touch, or you use the mouse and click on it.
I have
Okay.
another question on the same.
Okay, and there's one question from the chat box, and Roger says right-clicking on the Start button looks like it's going to control panel. Yeah, it does look like that. I'm not sure whether it actually is or not, Roger, but it definitely looks like that.
Okay. Bob has another question.
Okay,
Sure.
a famous member of our computer society once made a statement that you can't use Windows 8.1 without a touch screen. Is that still true of Windows 10?
I didn't hear that.
Did you hear it?
No.
Okay, he made the comment that a famous member of the Computer Society commented that Windows 8.1 was not particularly usable without a touch screen. And his question was, is that still the case with Windows 10?
I'm using it without a touch screen right now, showing you all these things without any issues. I prefer my Windows 8 machine with touch screen, but a lot of times I don't use the touch. I forget I have it, and I just use the without it. Uh, the thing is, the answer to that is it's a lot less requirement of having a touch screen because of the fact that it's now this you've got a start menu to work with.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, we're at about 20 after. Our speaker is here for the next presentation, so Huey, if you can finish up in a couple of minutes, and Dick does.
He might consider partitioning his C drive and see if his save to will allow him to save to the other partition. Dual install.
We're getting some thoughts about dual install and adding more partitions, and ask, I'm sure that if you did have more partitions, it would give you more options to save files.
Yeah, and you'll see that I'm on disk management. It looks like there's ways to change some of these things, or at least to see the way it's set up. There are or will be tools from third parties to do a lot of that partition changing and so on. Let's see, a couple of comments from, let's see, Roger says thanks, and Norm says thanks. Okay, so we're not done yet, folks. Don't go away. And just to wind things down, let's go back to my list here.
I see. Ted has a question, Hank. Sorry.
Go ahead. Oh, I thought you had a question. Okay. Of these articles that are here, you got the question now?
Yes, Huey, Ted wanted to know, what shortcuts have you used?
I don't normally use them, but they are still there. I do know that and I didn't write this one down, that the Win key I brings up the settings menu. And the power user menu, you do a Win key X. So there are shortcuts that you can learn. A lot of the same ones will probably still work, but there are some new ones because of some of the newer menus and newer items. But there's definitely shortcuts. What I did want to call your attention to between now and next month, when I start talking a little bit more about Windows 10, and I'll take up from this point, but the CNET articles are very good, and they also have one of these has, let's see, this one is very good. This is the one. This has where there's links to it, but let me go back. I don't like CNET. They have so many pop-ups and stuff. That was that one, and Windows 10 related articles. This has quite a few links.
Huey?
Yes. Question?
Jack's feeling that we need to take our break. Jack would like us to take our break, and our speaker is here. Okay. I noticed, by the way, that you glossed over something in that article that said Windows 10, everything that Windows 8 should have been. And I think that's pretty appropriate. But I agree, it's very smooth and easy to use, and I think people would have a lot less trouble with it.
And let me, I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to stop the recording. And thank you very much for joining us.